messianic fervor in many of the scrolls had less in common with traditional images of the Essenes than with the zealots described by Josephus. He acknowledged that the original community at Qumran might indeed have been established by Essenes of the traditional kind. But if so, he contended they would have vacated the site when it was destroyed in 39 BC. Those who occupied it subsequently after 4 BC and who deposited the scrolls would not have been Essenes at all, but zealots pursuing his argument a step further. He then endeavoured to establish links between the Qumran community and the fierce defenders of Masada, 30 miles to the south. Such assertions, needless to say, provoked indignant criticism from Father de Vaux's team. One of de Vaux's associates, Jean Carmignac, in reviewing Roth's book, complained that Roth does not miss any occasion to closely link Masada and Qumran, but this is another weakness of his thesis. Even when, 8 years later, Yigael Yadin, in his excavations at Masada, found scrolls identical to some of those discovered at Qumran. The international team refused to consider Roth's thesis. Quite clearly, some sort of connection had to exist between Qumran and Masada, yet the team, their logic now creaking painfully at the seams, insisted only one explanation was possible. Some of the Essenes from Qumran must have deserted their own community and gone to the defense of Masada, bringing their sacred texts with them. So far as Masada was concerned, Roth was then to be vindicated by Yadin's excavations, but he was also quite capable of fighting his own battles. In an article published in 1959, he focused particularly on de Vaux's assertion, based on supposed archaeological evidence, that the scrolls could not have been deposited any later than the summer of AD 68. When Qumran was taken by the 10th Legion, Roth demonstrated conclusively that the 10th Legion in the summer of AD 68 was nowhere near Qumran. Roth's arguments may have infuriated de Vaux's international team, but they were shared by his colleague Godfrey Driver. The two worked closely together, and in 1965 Driver published his massive and detailed opus on the Qumran material, the Judean Scrolls. According to Driver, arguments to establish a pre-Christian date of the scrolls are fundamentally unsound. The sole reasons for establishing such a date were, he pointed out, paleontological paleographical, and these cannot stand alone. Driving agreed with Roth that the scrolls referred to the period of the revolt in Judea between AD 66 and 74, and were thus more or less contemporary with the New Testament. He also concurred with Roth that the Qumran community must have consisted of zealots, not